after dark. And if you're like me, there is football on your television in your household right now. But hopefully you've got this show on your phone, your tablet, somewhere that you can watch or listen to us. My name is Greg Waddell. I am joined by a couple of great quarterbacks tonight, Christian Hackenberg and Clint Stoerner. Clint, this is the first time that they've let us on a show together. And in the 20 minutes we've been texting, I've learned that you're a tequila guy and that you like my energy. So I'm looking forward to the show big time, brother.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm going to tell you, I brought this dirty water. I'm typically a tequila guy, as you said, but I brought this dirty water out for you, G-Dub, and for the fact that I didn't even know it, but I just assumed my man Hack was a dirty water guy, a bourbon, a whiskey guy, and I'll be damned. Now he's doing it. He's drinking it neat now. Woo-hoo, shit. That'll put hair on your chest now. I put an ice cube in mine. But this is to you boys, man. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate it. Hack, do you have hair on your chest? You want to address that rumor quickly?
That's why I have to drink this to help with growth, stimulate growth, try to get it going. I barely got it on my damn face. I'm still faking that. So
well, it's a pleasure, boys. I'm very excited for this show. I'm very excited for this week of college football as well. Obviously, week one was insanity from start to finish. Week two, I think teams are going to settle in a little bit. I think we're going to see some of the better teams perform up to what they're capable of. And tonight, we're going to preview it all. Of course, we're going to talk Alabama, Texas. We're going to talk Baylor-BYU, another massive matchup with implications for both team's success this season. We've got our first ever edition of the QB Room. We got a lot of quarterbacks that are part of this network, and Hack himself is going to take us through the dilemma of the quarterback spot for the Michigan Wolverines, who are starting their second quarterback in just as many games. But first, gentlemen, as always, we have to do our toast. I'm going to keep it broad tonight. You can toast to anything you want. It could be players, coaches, anything in the sport, anything you're excited about. Hack, let's go to you first. What's your toast of the night?
Oh, shoot. I'm going to give a toast to the Iowa offensive coordinator. Hopefully he can put some shit together because last week was not it. They got a big one in the Cy-Hawk rivalry. So I'm drinking for you, with you, however you want it to be. That's what I'm doing. So here you go.
Clint, you're up next. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to be honest. This one's a tad bit personal for me because I think, I've really stood firm with my Brian Kelly's a bad fit at LSU. And by the looks of the dance, by the looks of the accent, by the looks of the product that was LSU, what was that? Was that Monday night that we saw that, or was that Sunday night?
Sunday night.
Sunday night. And from the way he opened his little press conference, I think I may be right. I think I may be on to something. I think I may be more right than I originally thought I would be. And I want to send a little cheers out, a little salute out to the reporter that hit Brian Kelly with the, well, if you'd win a game, we'd show up on time, coach. I don't know how good it was for her career, fellas, but the fact that she had the set of cojones to put it out there on Brian Kelly's CEO looking ass, that was classic, man. No Entertainment doubt. At its finest. Here's to you. They didn't even name her in the damn report, but here's to you, Miss Reporter, that asked that or had that pop off.
I'll drink to that. And I forget her name now that you mention it, but she did name herself. She did not run from this. She came right out and said, "Hey, that was me. Hands up." So great moment. I love that. Cheers. Look, we alluded to a power shift in college football that's taking place for the Michigan Wolverines. Cade McNamara to J.J. McCarthy. There's a power shift in the world today as well, gentlemen. R.I.P. Queen Elizabeth. King Charles is coming up next. Rest in peace to the Queen. That's my cheers of the night.
She had a good run, didn't she, G-Dub? 96 up?
Hell of a run. I mean, come on.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
All right, let's jump in from one reign to the reigning dynasty of college football. That would be the Crimson Tide, Alabama. Now, when I was on the show on Monday night, we talked about, is there a new dynasty? Could Georgia really do what Clemson kind of did and go toe-to-toe with Bama, win a couple chips, and keep asserting themselves in the playoff repeatedly year after year after year? But until Georgia starts to string those together, I think it's safe to still say this is Alabama's sport. This is Alabama's entire thing. They win. That's what they do. Well, they're going on the road to Texas. They don't do that much. And this is a massive game, a massive opportunity, clearly for both sides. Quinn Ewers for Texas. Things are going to feel a little bit different against that front seven from Bama than it did in week one for him, but he did show some flashes of a guy who can make dynamic plays and swing a game. I want to start with this from a scheduling perspective. Was this a mistake for Texas to even be playing this game? Hack, what do you think?
I don't think so. I kind of alluded to this in the past. I think Texas is obviously making the shift to the SEC. I think this is a gut check for the entire Texas football athletic department. If you're going to play with the big boys here in a year or two, you might as well see where you're at so you can adjust and get kind of a climate check of the entire attitude headed into it. So personally, I love it. Go ahead and see what you can do. And I think Sark was probably a big proponent of it, having came from Alabama and understanding what he's stepping into. So, it may be a mistake by what happens, but at least in a broader view. But I think when you look at it and really drill down, I think it was a good decision. And you're going to get a little bit of a preview and a taste of what's to come week in, week out here in a couple of years.
We praised a lot of teams in week one for having the courage to not start with a cupcake. I forget exactly what George referred to them as, but I think he was saying Walmart Tech. You could go that route, right? Or you could go the route of let's have a competitive game that's going to mean something. It might teach us something about ourselves. Clint, flipping this from a Texas perspective, what is success in this game for them? I mean, obviously they want to win the game, but what can happen either in the scorebook or elsewhere for them to come away from this feeling like we got what we wanted out of this game?
Well, look, I think you got to be competitive. I mean, look, guys, well, first of all, it was not a mistake to schedule the game. Secondly, it's not a program-defining game like Sarkisian kind of almost scaredly commented on this week. But it is absolutely a defining moment in your program in terms of where your rebuild is. When you look at who Alabama is, it's a really good football team, no doubt about it. But look at the recent history with Alabama. Arkansas stood toe-to-toe with Alabama in Tuscaloosa. In Pittman's second year, 42-35. By the way, KJ Jefferson threw for 350-plus yards in that game. A&M, in a season when they lost 4 ball games and finished 5th in the West with Zach Calzada at quarterback, beat Bama. Don't forget about Auburn. O'Brien Harsin, that old gal he brought up from Boise State, was good looking, wasn't she? She was good looking. He was in the middle of all kind of controversy. 6-6 football team. Took Alabama to 4 overtimes last year. I don't expect Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns to beat Alabama. I don't think anybody in the right mind does. But I expect him to go out there and put a product on the field that shows improvement from last year and shows that they're at least in the same ballpark as a 6-6 Auburn, an 8-4 A&M, and an Arkansas football team that was 9-2, 9-3 last year, whatever the hell they finished up. I should probably know that one. But when it's all said and done, beating them is one thing. Being competitive and being respectable in the fourth quarter, that's where I think Texas has to land. And it's going to define not their program, but their rebuild and where that's at.
5 games last year Alabama played were decided by less than 1 score. That's not usual. If you look at the last 5-6 years, even go beyond that for Nick Saban teams, there might be 2 or 3 scares. There is rarely half of their season is in a game that comes down to the final possession. Now, not all of those did come down to 1 play or anything like that, but on the scoreboard, I mean, if Texas were to keep this within 7, I would think they would feel pretty good about themselves. But piggybacking off of that, though, do you view this year's Crimson Tide, from what you've seen and what you've expected heading into this season, do you view them as vulnerable as they were last year, Hack?
I'm a firm believer. I think Clint brought up some really good examples, but, I think Nick Saban has experienced success for so long, and he's also brought that into the coaching world now as well, where you now have all of his proteges, people who've coached with him, understand what he's doing, are all Sark, Kirby Smart, Dabo Sweeney. They're running programs that are really competitive in the national scale as well. So I think you almost get this allure. And I think Saban's talked about this quite a few times when he's spoken to the media, just frankly, is that, the expectations now and how people view Alabama is a little bit skewed, because at the end of the day, man, the talent is still there across the country. It's not like Alabama's getting everybody and, everyone else is like the damn little giants running around out there. That's not the case. There's some good football teams and good football players everywhere. And ultimately, it does come down to the Jimmies and Joes, but the X's and O's do play a major role in this as well. And I think if you have a team who knows what to do against Nick Saban, knows how to attack their schemes, and can come away with a couple of plays, you're going to have a damn competitive game. And, to look at it, it's such a small sample size. They beat up on Rice. Was it Rice last week or someone like it was a small nobody last week. And heading into this, I think it's a good test for both teams. It's going to see how focused Alabama is. And then, I think what Clint said, I think it's a good bar to judge where Texas is rebuilding. So, I mean, people are putting a lot of hype into this, but realistically speaking, man, I think this is two storied programs going at it. And I think it's good for college football.
Heck, guys, this here's the deal is what this can't look like. And I mean, it's probably easier to talk about what it can't look like. Yeah. I watched, and again, I'll talk about my alma mater just to be fair.
Right.
This can't look like Arkansas, Alabama. I mean, Arkansas, Georgia last year. I mean, this can't look like a game where Texas runs into a football team where, man, they can't run it, they can't throw it, they can't protect the quarterback, the play caller ain't got a chance, the special teams ain't worth a shit. Like that can't be the case. Steve Sarkisian is supposed to be one of the best offensive minds in football. Forget the head coach thing. He's supposed to be one of the best offensive minds in college football. Damn it, we need to see it. You got a quarterback that's all world. You got a better receiving core and a better running back than Alabama does coming into this football game. What are you going to do with them? Create opportunities for those guys to make plays. Use those guys to protect your young quarterback so that he doesn't put your football team in a bad spot in the first half. In the fourth quarter, if you're behind a couple of touches, you got to let them hang, and that's a different story. But I mean, you got what's supposed to be a great play caller. You got one of the best running backs in the country. You got a couple of the best receivers in the country. You got to be able to go out there and at least put those guys in position to make plays.
So you guys were both quarterbacks, obviously, at the highest level in college football. And I did a little research before this segment because I wanted to pull some numbers. I wanted to make a little comparison and get some first-person perspective from you guys here. So, Clint, I believe, tell me if I'm incorrect here, your first year as a starter, your first true road game was against none other than Alabama. Is that correct? Am I remembering right?
Yes.
I think that's right. And Hack, I believe 6 games you had in the Big Ten, and then you went on the road to number 4, Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
So you two are both well familiar with, you've got a couple games under your belt, and now all of a sudden you're lined up against probably 11 dudes who are going to be playing on Sundays, right? How big does that moment feel, and how much do you feel is really on your shoulders? How do you fight through that, Hack? Let's go to you first, but I want to hear both of your perspective on this.
Yeah, I mean, we got blown out, and that was a great Ohio State team. That was the worst game I think collectively we played as a team that year when you really look at it and cut through it. But just going back retrospectively to where my mind was, I had Bill O'Brien. We as an offensive unit had a ton of confidence in him and the direction that he had us going, and for me, there was no overwhelming, and that's where I think what Clint was saying is I think it's a great testament to bring up with Sark. You got a kid who has experienced some things, been in some successful programs at Ohio State last year. Even though he sat around, was around it, played in some venues, and then now here you go. You got Alabama, so I think it's going to be really dependent on Sark, keeping him out of trouble, like Clint said early, and then, letting him get in the rhythm and the flow and start seeing the speed of the game and things of that nature. And then let him, take the leash off, take the harness off and let him go. Because at the end of the day, that's the only way you're going to grow as a quarterback. Can't be looking over your shoulder, can't be afraid to make mistakes, and play 1,000 miles an hour, and you can correct the mistakes later, but can't correct the effort or the tenacity of doing something. So, Going into it, you got to treat it as another week.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with everything Hack said from a perspective of if you're that dude, like anybody that's going to go and whether it's do great things for 1 or 2 years while you're there, or you're going to be a 2 or 3 year starter while you're there, you got to be a guy that's got ice water in your veins, to use an old school saying that's overused and probably thrown around too loosely. If this game, from an overwhelming perspective, like if this game overwhelms Quinn Ewers, then they can't get Arch Manning in that songbook quick enough. I mean, this can't be like if your dude. Now, I'll be honest with you. One thing that blows my mind is college coaches as a whole. Now, some of them do it great. So there's some of them out there I'm not talking about. But college coaches as a whole that get enamored with and infatuated with physical skills and never hone in on a dude that does he have ice water in his veins? Is he an alpha? Is he a dude that's unhealthily competitive? Is he that guy? If Quinn Ewers is not that guy, then they're going to have major problems, and you're going to find out against Alabama. So I guess my response to that is very simple. Is one of the biggest things you're going to find out, regardless of what the score is what kind of dudes you got behind center in Quinn Ewers. I got my ass whooped a lot. My sophomore year that you talked about, we beat Alabama that year on the road. Threw a last-second touchdown, looked like a damn punt, but my receiver was so wide open he caught it. And it was the old school scissors. It was the old school scissors route. That old corner came butt naked open, boy. I ain't kidding. That thing looked like a punt out there. But we beat them boys in the last minute. But I went on that year. We won 4 games that year. 7 of them games we got destroyed, man. Florida, after winning the national championship in '96, came back and destroyed us in the swamp. So I got my ass kicked plenty. But I'm going to tell you right now, you can call any dude that I played with in 1997, that year we got our ass whooped. And every single one of them would take a bullet for me right now. They damn sure would have then, and they would right now. They wouldn't have traded me in after a 4-win season for nobody. And that's what Quinn Ewers has. They have to find out about him. Does his team feel that way about him? Does the coach know that about him? And I don't give a damn what the score is. If that's the case, hey, man, hook your reins to that horse and ride, baby, because you're going to go places if you feel that way about him when this game's over.
Clint, I've now officially known you for 40 minutes, and I want to take a bullet for you right now. I mean, after that passion speech, good Lord. All right, we're gonna save our official picks on Alabama, Texas until the end of the show. In fact, we're gonna pick, I believe, do we have 12 games this week? We have some number. Every good game, we're gonna pick at the end of the show. 12 officially. Field of 12 picks. It makes sense. So stay tuned for the end of the show. We'll get to that. But we have 3 other featured games we're going to hit on here. First, another big one, top 25 matchup here that I think is being under-talked about, honestly. It's Baylor at BYU. This is a huge test for both squads. I think in a weird way, you could argue that this game is more important to these two teams than even, let's compare it to the game we just talked about, than a Texas. Obviously, there's emotions involved, and you want to know what you've got with Texas. But if Texas loses to Alabama and they win out the rest of the season, okay. They're in exactly where they want to be, right? I'm not sure that either team, Baylor or BYU, can afford to lose this game and then still potentially reach the college football playoff. BYU's an independent. Baylor ranked number 9 right now. Who knows where this would drop them? I think Baylor has a much more serious shot, if we're being honest with ourselves. Like, this is a team that, to me, can compete in the Big 12 and has those aspirations. BYU as an independent probably needs to run the table as a whole in general. So let's just start there. Hack, from a Baylor perspective, since they're arguably the bigger program, do they need to win this game to make the college football playoff?
I just think it's too early to say any of that. I mean, we watched what happened last year. You know, the Big Ten ended up beating the Big Ten East ended up beating each other up. And, you know, it's way too damn early. Do I think that I think you made a great point about both of these teams. Like, whoever comes out on top, it's going to be a huge springboard. But I think the team that doesn't win this game, I don't necessarily think it's the be all end all for them. You know, we'll see. I think you make a great point. I think it's a very overlooked game. I think BYU oftentimes doesn't get a ton of credit if it's just because their games are on at 11:30 at night here on the East Coast and not a lot of people are watching it. But they're a damn good football team, returning 8 starters on offense, 9 on defense. Jaron Hall, their quarterback, is a really dynamic player. You know, the one game I did catch last year was against UVA, and that was a shootout. I think there was like 125 points scored in that game. So, you know, I think it's great, but I think Baylor is poised. They kind of were in the hunt last year towards the end of the year, the way things shook out. So it'll be a good one to get under their belt to carry into the Big 12 play.
Yeah, look, I think both of these teams, I think this is if you don't, I mean, you kill national championship vibes around your program if you lose this football game, no question about it. I think that goes without saying ultimately, but I love the matchup, guys, because you got BYU who, as you said, Hack, returns, I think it's actually 20 starters if you count the specialists.
Yeah.
I mean, and you got a team that went out there and threw for 260 and ran for 3-something last week against a South Florida football team that, again, South Florida's one of them squads that call them what you want, but I know they got some horses in the stables now. For BYU to be able to do that, they got my attention. Now, I think that the story of the game is Dave Aranda's squad. This is a big-time challenge. You win this game and you put a convincing product on the field, I think you get folks' attention to be a legit, not just preseason top 10 and Big 12. There's a lot of movement in the Big 12, and you're the stable program out of the top, the big dogs that are out there right now. I think if Baylor wins this game convincingly, I think it is definitely a feather in their cap in a big, big way on a national scale in terms of the top 10 ranking. I got Oklahoma State winning the Big 12, but I'll be honest with you, Baylor, I need to see more, obviously. I love Blake Shapen, by the way. I love their quarterback. But we'll see. I think it's a big time challenge for Baylor.
Yeah, Shapen, to your point, was great in game 1, 17 for 20 on attempts, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. And Baylor, a team last year extremely close, finished 5th in the AP poll, Sugar Bowl. Like, they've had a taste of, oh my goodness, we were right on the edge of the pinnacle of college football. They don't return as much as BYU does. I don't think any team in the country damn near returns as much as BYU does, to your guys' point. But to me, that might be something that at least mentally is a driver for Baylor in this game, for those that are returning and anyone that's been around this program. Yeah, go ahead.
Quick question, though, man. Just curious. Y'all buying that? How do you feel about, you just talked about Baylor finishing up 5th in the AP. And look, end of the season, proof's in the pudding. I'm with you. I'm not banging Baylor. I'm just saying I don't know that I watched the top 10 program last year when I watched Baylor.
I'm buying Dave Aranda is what I'm buying. And do I think that translates to a team that can actually make the playoff this season? No, I do not, to be honest with you. But I'm buying him as a guy who can and probably should win 10 games almost every year when he's got the dudes that he has, at least on this roster. Like you said, I like Shapen a lot. So I'm not surprised. I'm with you. Actually, preseason, Oklahoma State was my Big 12 pick. I had Baylor right there as well. I gave both of those out on our best bets season preview because I don't think Oklahoma or Texas are going to win this conference. I think it's one of these two teams. But Baylor, to me, I do think it's an added push to win this game, right? This, to me, is the type of game that it's not going to derail your season. But if you can get over the hump and say we're 2-0 with a road win against a top 25 team early in the year, well, maybe that reinforces, oh, yeah, we are those dudes. We were there last year. We can really do this in a way that, oh, shit, we're 1-1 and we can't lose another game the rest of the year. Gets everybody on edge a little bit.
Let me clarify, too. I think it's, if you want to control your own destiny as a Baylor football team, if you want to control your own destiny, then yes, this is a must win. But at the end of the day, you know, like I said, I think you're going to need some help after this, but if you want to control your own destiny, yeah. And to your point, if you're building a culture like Aranda's trying to do down there, this would be a big one for you.
Massive. All right, let's go to the SEC. This is Clint's territory here. Florida hosting Kentucky, back-to-back ranked games in the swamp to start the season for the Gators. Anthony Richardson is getting all of the love from everybody in the world right now, especially us. If you've watched us this week, I think we've spent probably 25% of every single show talking about how good Anthony Richardson was, if he's a Heisman contender, if he can lead this team to titles, yes, with an S. All of that has been said this week. Well, they're playing a Kentucky team with a quarterback that everybody should be pretty high on too, in Will Levis. And he got a lot of preseason love, but this is a high-octane matchup between two very good football players and two teams that I think are pretty damn good teams as well. Big implications in the SEC East. Clint, let's go to you first. This is your homeland, you could say. Do you worry at all for Florida going into this game? Is this a potential letdown spot coming off the high emotional last-second victory against Utah?
Hell yeah. As long as Mark Stoops is coaching the University of Kentucky, they got a chance to win ball games. I'm a firm believer in Mark Stoops. What he's done at Kentucky is nothing to turn your cap up at. I mean, your nose up at. He is a coach that you can take it to the bank at this point in time. They're going to be as good a football team as anybody in the country. Now, there's going to be guys that are more talented, but when you talk about a team, when you talk about a group working together, when you talk about a coach that gets the most out of the recruits that he pulls in from a development standpoint, maturity standpoint, they are going to be a hard beat. Very rarely are they going to beat themselves. And some teams, that's not going to be enough. We're going to have conversations, and I'm like, no, it's not even going to. That's not going to be enough. They don't have the dudes. They don't have a chance. Florida ain't one of them. Florida's got the big boy taking snaps, no doubt about it. But as long as Kentucky's coached by Mark Stoops, I believe that they have the ability to go in, overcome the odds of playing a night game at Florida and coming out victorious, coming out late in the fourth quarter, kicking a field goal to win that thing. And I don't think it has anything to do with what you said, though, G-Dub, if I'm being honest. I don't think it has anything to do with Florida coming off that big win. I don't want to say that, and then if they end up losing, go, well, that's why they lost. No, if they lose that ball game, it's because Mark Stoops and them boys went in there and whooped that ass. It's that simple. So, yeah, it has a chance to be a letdown. It has a chance to be an upset. Kentucky could very easily win this ball game.
Yeah, I'll jump on that too. I think it's funny when you look at it from a bigger picture. I think Billy Napier's kind of trying to get to what and where Mark Stoops got, right? Because at the end of the day, Florida traditionally, historically, has been a powerhouse in the SEC, and as of late, it really hasn't been the case. They've shown spurts, but it's those spurts of like flash of gold and then right back to the bottom of the barrel. It's been really frustrating to watch because, just as a college football fan, like you want Florida to be good. But I got a little bit of a different vibe with Billy Napier. I know it's a very, 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 very small sample size, but last year, 2 years ago, same talent on that Florida team. I don't even think it's a damn ball game against Utah. And the way that they were able to scratch and claw and get it done, I think that's a great thing. So I think it's kind of a tale of two programs. One that got through the hard times, and that's a ton of credit to Mark Stoops. Like Clint was saying, it's been damn near incredible. You got a great quarterback running the show down there, doing it at a very efficient clip. Last week, I think he threw for like 300 yards. Really cool, clean game. And then you have Billy Napier, who did it on a really, really big stage week one. But now you got to start stacking them, and you got to start showing it, and you got to start building that resume. So for Florida, I think that's kind of going to be the focus. I think they're kind of on the same thought process as Clint. Like, this can't be a letdown game. We did it. We know we can do it. Now we need to do it week in, week out. And ultimately, to be even a thought process in the SEC, that's what you got to do. Teams like Arkansas, teams like Kentucky have shown that they can do that, and that's going to be good for the overall health of the conference. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I think it's kind of like big picture, two different programs. I'm really curious to see how Florida attacks this opportunity, and I know damn well Mark Stoops is going to come in prepared. So it's gonna be a damn barn burner. I'm excited.
Heck, I got the same vibe from Billy Napier, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it just seems like there's something special in the air. I mean, the way that Anthony Richardson played last week, it wasn't just – I mean, he threw for 160-something yards, and so nobody's even talking about that. But he made 2 or 3 big-time throws that –
oh, my gosh.
You just – it ain't supposed to be that easy. It's not supposed to come. The ball ain't supposed to come off of a human being's hand that way. It looks like he was shooting it out of a damn ball machine. Yep. And there was just a cool, calm, poised, prepared, just vibe with that team that it's hard to think that dude couldn't take Emory Jones' spot last year in Dan Mullen's offense. That dude threw 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions last year. How am I watching the same dude push up in the pocket, stand tall, and make a decision to rip it or run it?
It's almost like a maturity that happened like insanely fast behind the scenes, like a calm, cool, collected, poised that like came out of nowhere. Yes. And the only direction you can point that to, and you and I both know it, you got a talented kid that hasn't been playing consistently. At the end of the day, coaches who oftentimes don't take the credit or take the blame for that, without anyone saying it, I'm giving Billy Napier a ton of credit 100%. For that, because you're putting your players in the best situation to be successful. They're going to play their ass off for you if you do that. And it just showed in week 1. And I think that's just something Florida's been missing. They've been there before, even though they haven't. It's almost like they have. And that's the vibe I got watching them. So it's going to be cool seeing how they develop this year.
Talk that shit, Hack. Talk that shit, Hack. Come on.
All right, I'm going to be this guy, and I'm fully prepared for both of you to jump right in and tell me I am a complete idiot for this, but I feel obligated to do it. Are we sure we don't need to see it one more week from Richardson before we go all the way there? Because I hosted a show, this very show, Monday night, where his name was being thrown directly into the C.J. Stroud, the Bryce Young, the Caleb Williams conversation as far as he is that tier of quarterback. Like you said, Clint, he threw for 160-something yards. That's fine, but he made the plays. I know that. I watched that. I had a ticket on Florida Moneyline Live. Believe me, I was locked in for that, okay? But are we sure? Because for all the reasons we said, and we pointed last year, he couldn't beat out the guy. Yes, that's on Mullen. We get that. But are we sure we might not be taking the crown and putting it on somebody's head just a little bit too early? Don't we need to see it one more week, or am I nuts?
Clint? Because I got something to fire away on this too. But
look, do I need to see it one more week? Hell yeah, G. What the hell you think? Yeah, I need to see it one more. Hell, I need to see it for about 12 more weeks, if I'm being honest. And I don't even give a damn if Florida wins 10 ball games or not. I'm just talking about the product of the quarterback. And I'm just, look, when it comes to putting guys in the same tier with the C.J. Strouds and the Bryce Young, there's got to be some kind of elite ability, dynamic ability, whether it's his feet or his arm or a combination of the two. There's got to be something there that is going to drive this guy to a potential Heisman or drive this guy to a potential number 1 overall pick. And I'm just here to tell you, the guy that I watched play against the number 7 team in the country in pressure-packed situations, the quarterback product that I watched, that guy, I'm buying that right there before I buy C.J. Stroud today. I'm buying it right now. Wow. I'm just telling you that's how talented I think the dude is. That's how gifted I think he is. That's the advantage that I think he gives you. And he's definitely in the conversation as I see it.
Yeah, I was going to take it where at the end of the day, you roll Anthony Richardson, any of the guys that you just named on a high school football field anywhere in this country and just let them throw footballs and run around and do things. There ain't a damn difference. If not, he might be a step up in terms of like just overall talent, like what he has. But then you get into the finer, more groomed aspects of the game where you have a guy like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud who've been playing in systems, operating within those systems, and to Clint's point, stacking great performances week in, week out, and building confidence in what they're doing and how they're seeing things and how they're executing things. Yes, this kid needs to keep doing that if you're going to talk about Heisman and all this stuff. But if we're just talking like raw potential talent, he's there. Now it's on Billy Napier and that offensive staff to continue to put him in situations to be successful and build that confidence.
Yeah, hey, real quick. Heck, like if we're talking about going to the next level, and it's just so difficult to talk about quarterbacks and quarterback play in in such a vacuum, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, if I'm talking about an NFL caliber quarterback right now, who do I think can step on the NFL field and play tomorrow and win ball games? I'm going Bryce Young and I'm going Will Levis. Right? If I'm talking about
I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. I'm taking the kid at Purdue, Aiden O'Connell. If you ain't watched him, watch him, bro.
Wow.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I'll take your word.
But no,
for
I
it.
agree with you too, though. Like I totally agree. There's a different level of understanding, grasp, plug and play of the game.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's development, but not physically. It's development mentally, and then bringing the physical tools along with that.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I'm plugging somebody into a Kubiak system where it's a lot of play action, then I'll take Anthony Richardson all day long. If I'm plugging a guy into Sean McVay, who's playing right now, into his system, then I need me a Will Levis, or I need me a Bryce Young type of dude that knows how to distribute the football, right? If I'm plugging it into a system where I'm going to use my quarterback run some, not a lot, but I need a big arm and I got time to develop a guy, then I'm going to go get CJ Stroud. I mean, it's just there's so many different
flavors, man.
Yeah, man.
It's like what's going to fit and what's going to fit with the offensive philosophy. And that's why when you talk about drafting kids, and this is a whole nother conversation, but it's a fit, and it's what you see and what you can develop internally in-house. Right. And I think that's why it's big to get that development at the college level and the well-roundedness, because then you can just say, hey, listen, man, I can step in and do whatever you need me to do. But you got to be developed.
I like the analogy to flavors. And all I'm trying to just interject slightly, just a tad little bit here.
Go ahead.
Is that are we sure this isn't just the flavor of the month? Because let's just say hypothetically, if Cam Rising throws the ball away on second down, throws a touchdown on third down, are we sure we're still featuring this new flavor right next to the chocolate, the vanilla, the strawberry? Are we sure we're going there without his defense making a huge play? I see it just like you guys do. I want to see it one more week. That's all I'm saying before we really get there.
You're spot on, 100%. Absolutely, I'm with you, 100%.
You got to put the pads on and play, bro. But I think we were having a little bit of a deeper, different discussion. But 100%, man.
Sure.
But he's on the right path. He's on the damn right path right now.
For the record, if you're still in the vanilla, chocolate, strawberry category, G-Dub, shit, man, I got to take some of my compliments back, man. What are we doing here?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Come
Clint.
on,
you're not wrong.
Come on, Chief. Shit.
You're not wrong at all. You're not wrong. All right, let's. We got one more game on the feature list. We can be relatively quick on this one. We got USC on the road against Stanford. The note in our rundown, we producer Dagan does a great job with these rundowns every single week. The note in the rundown says, "Are the Trojans on upset alert?"
Man, hell with Dagan. It's supposed to be Trevor's show, Dagan. The hell you doing?
Hey, we got a great team behind the scenes here. Okay, all right, but let's go right off the note, Clint. I'm throwing it right back to you. Trojans on upset alert? Yes or no?
No chance, man. I'm buying Lincoln Riley. I'm not the biggest fan of Lincoln Riley. I'll be completely honest. I don't like the way he bounced out of Oklahoma. I don't think you do people that way. But, hey, it's a coaching business, and you got to chase that paper. I totally get it. But I like USC. I got them in my college football playoff this year. I think they win the Pac-12, and that's one of the brands out there that when you win the Pac-12, you're getting in the big dance. And I think Caleb Williams. I think Addison. I think the 4 transfers that they added on defense, the 4 transfers they added on offense, the fact that he jumped right into a program where they already knew his terminology offensively makes for a quick transition. With all of that said, I think that's a recipe to take off immediately when the season starts for USC. If they were changing terminology and trying to fit guys square pegs in round holes, then I'd have questions. I don't think there's any chance that Stanford upsets USC. I think USC wins this one convincingly.
Hack?
Yeah, I think this is a big one for USC. First test for him going up to Stanford, which they have given them problems in the past. But I'll play it on the other side. If Stanford were to pull this off, I think they're returning 10 offensive starters. They got a great quarterback up there as well. If I'm Stanford, I'm limiting USC's chances controlling the time of possession. If they can do that, if they can move the football and get points, any type of points at the end of drives and keep the ball out of their hands, they got a shot. But ultimately, I think Lincoln Riley and them are going to be too efficient for Stanford to really have a chance to do that.
Yeah, you mentioned it before the show, Hack. Stanford won this game last year. So
Yeah.
this is not a walk-in, cakewalk type situation, but you could flip that as well. Maybe this is a revenge game. A lot of new faces for USC.
I don't like playing. I don't like playing that game, man. I don't like playing that stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. That's the resume that you can only go off of what history's proven. So, but I think, like I said, if Stanford wants a chance, they got to control the football and play some old school David Shaw, old school Stanford style football, and limit USC's touches, because you give them too many touches, man, that scoreboard can get lit up quick. Is that the revenge game? Is that the game you don't like playing? Is that what you mean? I don't like playing any of those, man. It's a football game. Roll the ball out there and let's hear the pads crack.
It's good to learn this from you, Hack, because as the only person who has not taken snaps under center in his life on this panel, but I do place quite a few parlays, revenge game is like the key element of everything I do, Hack. So you got to tell me I'm crazy on this. Talk me out of this nonsense.
Hey, G-Dub, let me tell you, all that means is Hack didn't fumble the ball in front of 100,000 folks in Neyland Stadium back in '98. That's the only time I've ever had a revenge game, baby. Hey, I wanted revenge like the crazy ex that caught you cheating last year, man. Hey, I cried after that ball game. I wanted that damn redemption so bad. So that's my only experience with revenge games. I don't disagree with you, Hack. I just wanted to let you know that for some of us, that shit exists. It is real, baby.
I hear you.
Hack's just too nice of a guy, man. Hack's not a
has nothing to do that, man. I just want to play damn football. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for me. A game, whatever. Go play with my guys.
Amen to that. All right. Well, that's a really good segue into Hack's debut on a segment that we call Quarterback Room. Hack broke down the film from the two quarterbacks that Michigan is considering for their full-time starter. Cade McNamara, the starting quarterback from last season, who took Michigan to the playoff, the victory over Ohio State, all of that. And now this season, J.J. McCarthy about to make his first career start at home against Hawaii this week. Hack broke down the film. He's going to tell you what he sees, and we're going to cut to that right now. You can see a segment of this. You can see the full edition of this on the Field of 12 YouTube channel. Here it is.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Field of 12 QB Room, sponsored by BetRivers. This is where you're going to hear everything about the quarterbacks this year from the quarterbacks here at Field of 12. Real excited about diving into this one. We're going to talk a little bit of Michigan, things going on in Ann Arbor up there. You got a returning starter in Cade McNamara, who took you to the college football playoff last year, but you have J.J. McCarthy on his heels, who is the young, flashy superstar. And there's a little bit of quarterback controversy, something that we couldn't expect. So what I want to do is keep this one high level, because there's really not much to dive into other than explaining the difference between a guy who's just going to keep getting you from point A to point B, a Honda Civic, super reliable, to the super sexy Shelby GT500 and J.J. McCarthy. So we'll dive in here with Cade McNamara. Got a look here, cover one look, could be some pressure, but he identifies a mismatch right away. This is what you get out of a savvy vet. You got Ronnie Bell in the slot, matched up against a safety, and he goes ahead and takes a shot here. Really like the execution, notices what he has, takes advantage of it, and gashes Western Michigan for a touchdown. Here's another example of what you get from a guy like Cade McNamara. Identifying the fourth down rusher here, coming off the edge, understanding the situation as well. 3rd and 7, you're playing Wisconsin, backed up, need a first down, but don't have to force it. He goes through it here, picks up the pressure, O-line kicks out wide, has a guy open, doesn't panic, hits the check down, efficient play, gets you the first down. Something you may not get out of a young guy who hasn't played a lot of football. Another example of McNamara really having command of the offense. Penn State showing some edge pressure, linebackers creeping. He sees it, tells his back to go pick it up, understanding that this is probably something that they put in for a certain look, more of a game plan type play. Hack is able to get out there. He makes a tough throw, executes, and goes. Now let's shift over to J.J. McCarthy. Like I said, the Shelby GT500, this kid's got a ton of tools, a ton of ability. Not saying Cade doesn't, just a little bit different here of an animal. And this is a prime example why. Something that was seen a lot last year, but as a quarterback coach, you got nightmares, offensive coordinator screaming, no, no, no. And then all of a sudden, arm talent takes over. Kid hits the guy in stride, basically sideline to sideline throw for a touchdown. That's what you're going to get with J.J. McCarthy that Cade McNamara is not necessarily going to bring to the table. Now, this isn't a shot at Cade. He definitely knows how to use his legs. But here's a perfect example of how Michigan can expand their playbook with J.J. McCarthy under center. More of your traditional read option type play, quarterback off the edge with a lead blocker. He adds another element that defensive coordinators have to prepare for. Cade is going to stay more in the pocket and operate. JJ, again, is that wild card gunslinger that can get you yards both with his arm and his legs in both a designed and off-schedule fashion. Now let's talk about JJ here in the pocket. You got Georgia here. Obviously, the defending national champions went on to win it this year. They beat Michigan in the college football semi-final game. But what I really like to see here is a kid who's fearless, understands his man coverage, is looking to attack one of his big bodies over the middle of the field. Stands it, throws a really good football. Not many people on this planet can throw. And it's just a real good testament to his development, his growth from last year throughout the year into the end of the year. This is the stuff that you're going to see from J.J. McCarthy as he continues to get comfortable in college football and what you will need to see if he wants to become a premier quarterback. So there you have it, folks. Ann Arbor has themselves a problem, but it's actually a good one. Either way they go, I think they can operate and win in the Big Ten this year and ultimately give themselves a chance to get back to the college football playoff. It's just which car do you want to drive? Do you want to drive the old Civic or do you want to drive the new, sexy Shelby GT500?
So while that was airing, we were behind the scenes just discussing Hack's experience putting this together. And Hack, you alluded to the fact that this is a pretty unprecedented move. I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to throw the mic to you as the guy who broke down the film. Does this sort of shift that everyone expects for this to be J.J. McCarthy's job after this week, does that make sense to you?
That's a tough question. I think in my gut and, my pride and purity of the game and seeing what Cade did last year and how he led this team, it doesn't. But in the shift of where college football is going with the transfer portal and you got to keep kids happy, it does. And I think it ultimately, I'm more pissed at the way it was handled in terms of dragging this out into the regular season, because I think Jim Harbaugh had enough experience to be able to make this decision in training camp rather than stretch this out. Because at the end of the day, last week was supposed to be the Cade McNamara show and J.J. McCarthy was in their plan. So you kind of tip your hat, right? And I think it's unfair to the kid from that side. And it's a really unique situation because I just feel for a guy who's operated, did some things that were unprecedented in Michigan recent history, beating Ohio State being one of them. And then the college football playoff, obviously giving them their first berth, to get benched. And again, I completely understand it because JJ is a super, super talented kid. But at the end of the day, I think that's something that you need to handle during training camp and spring ball as a staff, and to stretch this out in the season, I think is very unfair to Cade.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective from you. And look, I live in the state of Michigan. My father's a U of M alum. I certainly hear everything from the fan base perspective and read quite a bit about this program as much as I can. And I'll put my conspiracy hat on here. I've said it for the last week. I wholeheartedly believe that this staff made their decision on who they want to win this battle, but felt that they politically could not just hand the crown to J.J. McCarthy for game one. And to your point, Hack, I think they should have made that decision prior if that's what they knew. But you look at what they did last game, and Cade McNamara in his audition in a 50-50 battle had full drives in the first half of that game where he was not asked to throw a pass. And I don't know how he's supposed to win that job in a blowout win if he's not given that opportunity. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe JJ McCarthy is going to be asked to do the exact same thing and have full drives where he doesn't throw a pass. My guess is the playbook's going to open up a little bit, partially because of what he's capable of, but also partially because this staff knows what they're doing deep down and wants JJ McCarthy to be the clear winner in the fan base's eyes. And I think if that was their goal, they certainly succeeded in week 1. And I don't think they have much work left to do to succeed in week 2. Clint, final question on this segment, and then we're going to get to our picks here. Do you think from if you're Jim Harbaugh, if you're the Michigan coaching staff, do you have to choose a guy? Is there any way they could have gotten through the season with a 2-quarterback system, or do they need to choose a guy?
Oh, I think if you got 2, you don't have 1. I mean, I don't believe in splitting. And it's not because guys, need to get in rhythm or no, your team needs to know who's that dude. Your team needs to know who they're going to be in the huddle with, who's going to be touching the football every single snap in the big moments of their season. Not 2 different personalities, 2 different sets of strengths and weaknesses, 2 different cadences at the line of scrimmage. I mean, they need one dude to rock and roll here to make this make sense, in my opinion. I'm with Hack, man. I hate that. This is one of those deals where, or I'll put it to you this way. I like to see decisions in and around quarterbacks made as if the coach's job was on the line. Not, hey, I got a new contract. I got some job security. I can afford to go with a guy that I like more or a guy that may have a higher ceiling. And if it don't work out, then I can always rebound. Versus I got to go win ball games right this second. Who's my guy that can do it? Doesn't matter who recruited who. Doesn't matter how much I like or dislike the guy. What quarterback gives me the best chance to win ball games? And I don't know that in this case, it's not the kid that we've seen do things at Michigan that haven't been done in a long time. Again, to Hack's point, in terms of beating Ohio State, going to the college football playoffs, I think you're taking a big time gamble making the decision. But you get paid to make the big boy decisions. We'll see what happens. I agree with Hack that it's a Bush League way to go about making the decision, though, is flip-flopping back and forth and acting as if it's a fair shot. It's a fair shake.
It would not be the first time that Bush League and Jim Harbaugh are used in the same sentence. So let's just throw that out there. Hack, where do you think this ends for Cade McNamara? I mean, if JJ McCarthy is named the starter, what happens?
Here's the thing, man, is I think they did that kid a disservice. And for all he did to that program, for that program, you let him know at the start of training camp or 2 weeks into training camp, hey, bud, we're going with JJ. If you want to leave, I completely understand it. If you want to go play football, I completely understand it. But I think to Clint's point, this thing got strung out and they did him dirty, man, because at the end of the day, he's kind of handcuffed. He's stuck there for his last year and it's all reliable, right? I mean, if JJ goes out there and lays a couple eggs, he's still got all reliable back there. But you're playing a lot of mental games with a kid that you shouldn't be playing. And that's just where my biggest clash comes from with this, is that to do right by all kids, this should have been handled internally as a family, like all these college football programs preach, behind closed doors, and giving everybody a fair chance to make out the best way they can from this.
Yeah, let alone a kid who, again, beat your rival for the first time in about 10 years and took you to a playoff, right?
To even say Colorado State is an audition for that kid with his work with his body of work, is that was a slap in the face.
Yeah, and what a long way Cade McNamara's journey. If you're writing the book of Cade McNamara at Michigan, from his first career really taking over the starting job in a come-from-behind win at Rutgers, in which I think 50 points were scored, and he said, what if we win out for a team that already had 3 losses, to the next full season go to the college football playoff for the first time in his coach's career, to a season later, you're on the bench by game 2. Fascinating to see play out. So appreciate the perspective from both of you, and Hack, great job with the film. That was fantastic. All right, we're going to end the show tonight with our picks for the week. As we mentioned earlier, we've got 12 games. Everybody here is going to make a pick, including producer Dagan. Let's just set the table, though. We have some records, and I'm not just doing this because, I got a little lead on the guys right now. But this is Hack's pick debut. He is 0-0 on the year. Producer Dagan is 17-6, a very respectable record. He's got to do more of these games than anybody. So little catch up to play, though, percentage-wise. Clint, 9-2 on the year thus far. I'll drink to that. But your boy G, best bets G, parlay G, the kid, 10-1 on the year. I'm hoping to make this 22-1, boys. That's what we're doing. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in order. Clint's going to go first. Hack's going to go second. I'm going to go third. Producer Dagan is going to go fourth. All 12 games. I will tee up the game, and then Clint, it's right to you. You can either just say your pick or you can give us a little reasoning behind it. So game number 1, Louisville at UCF. Clint.
The Fighting Gus Malzahns. I'm going UCF, baby. Come on.
Pack.
I am also going UCF. Louisville struggled last week. Something I didn't expect to see, but I agree. I think Gus got them in the right direction down there, and they got a ton of talent.
I'm with you guys. I'm taking UCF. Pretty simple. Dagan, what's your pick?
Great minds think alike. UCF.
Clean sweep. All right, game 2, South Carolina is at Clint. It's your Razorbacks. I'm assuming I know who you got here.
Come on, man. You know who I got. My man Sam Pittman got them boys rolling. They got to figure some stuff out now. If a different Cincinnati team, if Ben Bryant would have been worth the damn in the first half last week, Arkansas could be 0-1 now. It would have definitely been a different ball game. So I think they better get their shit together. But yeah, I think Arkansas is a better football team. I think they have their way with South Carolina when it's all said and done.
Pack.
Love Sam Pittman. Love the mentality he brings riding with Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm with Arkansas as well. I hope we don't clean sweep all of these, but I have a feeling the first 2 may be that. I'm not buying Spencer Rattler yet. I'm just going to throw that out there. No justification for that unless I'm correct. Then we'll talk about that next week. Dagan, what do you got?
Greg, you stole my reasoning, man. So I'm with you, Arkansas. I don't know how I'm feeling about Rattler just yet. We'll have to see another week or 2 on that.
Game number 3, Washington State is at Wisconsin, who ran for probably 4,000 yards in week 1. Clint, who you got?
I'm going with them Badgers, baby. Wisconsin.
I'm also riding with Wisconsin. Control the football, keep it out of Washington State's hands. They can do that. And actually, I think Graham Mertz played all right last week. So that's been my question mark with him. At least completed the football at a good clip and did what he can do. So if he can keep doing that, lean on those big boys up front, pound the rock, old school Wisconsin's back.
Yeah, I don't see this happening at Wisconsin. Braylon Allen was my skill position star of the week for week 1. He's going to try and make it 2 in a row, but give me the Badgers.
Yeah, Hack, we were talking before the show about a game I wanted to pick an upset. This was that game, but I changed my mind for a different game that you're going to have to find out later. I think Washington State keeps us a lot closer than people think, though, but I got Wisconsin.
You're a smart man for changing that pick, Dagan. That's all I'm going to say. Game number 4, Oregon State at Fresno State. Clint, who you got?
I'm going to ride Oregon State, man, and I got no other reason didn't they beat up on Boise State last week?
It sure did.
Yes, it did.
And I think Boise State is typically a very well-coached football team, do all the simple things well. They play with energy. They're not an easy out, and for Oregon State to beat up on them that way, I just got to assume that they're playing a good football right now, early in the season, and I'm going to take them over Fresno State. Shot in the dark, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna go against you here, Clint. I like what Fresno State's got outside. I think they got some horses. I love the quarterback over there, so I'm going Fresno State. We'll see what happens. Obviously, a little bit out of my territory. Don't get to watch a lot of those games, but I'm in on the Fresno State train.
I'm going to take Fresno as well. I'm with Hack here. I love Jake Haener, but to Clint's point here on his assumption that Oregon State's playing good football, what I'll tell you is this. I think this is a much different team at home in Corvallis than they are on the road. I think there were some ghosts in that stadium because when I watched Boise State with a Boise State money line ticket pregame, and their quarterback came in who's on the watch list for every quarterback awards you can have preseason. Hank, what is Bachmeier?
Yep.
Two interceptions, turnovers, couldn't complete a pass. They're down 21-0 before you could even tell. And I think that was more Boise State's doing than Oregon State's doing. This is a tough game on the road for them. Give me Fresno. Dagan, who you got?
Clint, congratulations on your win. I also have Fresno State. I love Haener. We interviewed him. I mean, Greg, you interviewed him early in the preseason. I sat on that call with you guys. Love this guy. He called out Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, said he could outsling those guys. So I love this guy. I'm backing him all the way here.
Yeah, I like delusional optimism, and I think Jake Haener has a little bit of that. We like that here. Houston at Texas Tech, Game 5. Clint, who you got?
Come on, man. I'm in the H, baby. Are you kidding me? I'm in the H. Dana Hogan. Look, last week was the week to beat U of H, man. UTSA gave them a run for their money. That would have been a monster win for my man Jeff Traylor down there at UTSA. But when it's all said and done, man, I think U of H, I think they're the group of 5 team this year that's got a shot to make that Cinderella run. If there is another one in the tank for the college ball playoffs, if not for that, what is that, the New Year's Six Bowl that they get in? I'm going H-Town here, baby. H-Town.
I got Houston as well. I thought UTSA is a really good football team, overlooked. And I think Texas Tech starting quarterback's down. So I'm all in for Houston.
Yeah, Clayton Tune, to me, got a little bit of Superman in him. I'm just saying that. I mean, I saw this man basically do a front flip in the triple overtime to turn what should have been a nothing play into a must-have score to keep his guys alive against UTSA. That was a fantastically entertaining game, by the way. But I'm buying into Houston with you guys. I'm a little terrified that all 3 of us are on the same side, though. Dagan, who you got?
Well. Texas Tech. I'm rolling with Red Raiders. This is technically my upset, even though it's not an upset. Texas Tech is favored in the game, but in my head, they're not the favorite, if you know what I mean. I'm going against those guys out in Vegas. But no, I like Texas Tech, even with their backup Donovan Smith starting the game. I don't know. I feel something. I don't know. That's all I got about that.
Is this something you feel, the fact that you knew all 3 of us were on Houston because we sent you our picks, so you went the opposite?
Absolutely not.
Respect.
Don't give away my secrets, Greg.
I just had to check. Iowa State on the road at Kinnick against a team that scored 7 points without a touchdown last week. Clint, what you got?
I'm gonna go Iowa here, man. I'm gonna go Iowa. I don't have a whole hell of a lot of reason other than I believe that last week was unacceptable, embarrassing, and I think they got a rebound. That's one of them games last week where you finish that game, and boy, the coach has got plenty of ammunition that next week. So I'm banking on a big time rebound here. I'm going Iowa.
Yeah, I'm going Iowa State. Unless they're lining up Jack Campbell at quarterback and they can miraculously figure out how to run the damn football. Yeah, man, I don't see it with Iowa. They got a great defense. Now, I don't think Iowa State's going to go out there and light up the scoreboard by any means, but I do think that if they can get themselves a couple short fields, put up some points, get some touchdowns, I think Iowa's going to have a hard time keeping up with them offensively.
I felt unbelievably good about my Iowa pick here until I just heard Christian Hackenberg just so casually pick Iowa State in this spot. A man who would know much better than any of us how much we should fear the Hawkeyes after an ugly start. I'm a bettor, if you guys can't tell, and I actually really like this spot as a buy low on Iowa. I think there are some ghosts in that stadium, and I think Matt Campbell has struggled against the Hawkeyes historically. And I don't think Petrus can play worse than he did last week. And I don't know if that means he's going to be the guy that takes every single snap this season or not. But I think this is a bounce back spot in a big way for the Hawkeyes. So give me Iowa. Dagan, who you got?
You Clint, Greg, you two are crazy, man. There's no way you're picking Iowa after what the hell we saw last week, right? There's just no way. Petrus rolling out a 1.1 QBR. What are we doing here? Iowa's got no offense. I'm rolling on Iowa State. I'm out on Iowa for the rest of the year. That's all I got to say.
Arizona State.
I'm out.
Arizona State at Oklahoma State. Clint.
Come on, man. Them Cowboys, baby. I got Oklahoma State in the in my winning the Big 12. So I'm gonna ride with Oklahoma State in this one, man. I love the fact that Gundy cut his mullet off.
I'm with you, but I'm ashamed you cut the mullet off. I'm personally a mullet guy, so I'm going with Oklahoma State.
Yeah, it's Oklahoma State for me as well. Nothing to say on it. I think this is a simple, easy win. Dagan, who you got?
Oklahoma State next.
Tennessee at Pittsburgh. The pesky Pittsburgh Panthers. Who you got, Clint?
I think Tennessee skull drags Pittsburgh.
Oh.
And that pains me to say. That pains me to say, if I'm being completely honest. But I'm high on Tennessee this year, man. I think they got a good thing going. I think when you look at their quarterback Hooker, I mean, you talk about legit dual threat that they use correctly. Not just, we don't call him a dual threat. He just scrambles around back there because he's a good athlete. You're talking about a guy that spins the rock really well. You're talking about a guy that is patient in the run game, and the QB +1 run game is a real thing in Tennessee. And Josh Heupel is just, I mean, he's just a proven play caller. I mean, a proven producer offensively. And so I am really, really high on Tennessee this year to cause problems in the SEC East. So I'm gonna bet they go up to Pittsburgh and not just win that ball game. I think they win it convincingly.
I'm right there with you. Big fan of Josh Heupel. Like the direction that program's going after a lot of turmoil. I think they got the Jimmies and Joes and the X's and O's coming back to that full circle from the beginning of this. So I'm excited about what Tennessee can do this year.
I think that Tennessee is the better team at nearly every single spot, but the better team does not always win. And I think that Pitt, the spread's 6.5, I believe, right now. I think you could give me Pitt against any team in the country at home, and I would take this to be a 7-point game either way, whether it's the worst team in the country or the best team in the country. So I'm going to take Pitt and try to be a little different. Dagan, who you got?
Wait. Hell no. Hang on a second, Dagan. What the hell did you just say, G?
I said I got Pitt.
No, I heard that part. I'm talking about that shit you said before.
I said that I think Pitt against anybody good or bad in the country, 7-point game. I fully believe that.
Oh, it'll finish within 7 points either way.
Yeah, whether it's, if you're talking Georgia, Alabama, if it's at Pittsburgh, or if it's, again, Walmart Tech, as our friend George likes to say, 7-point game, no matter who it is.
Gee, did you go to Pittsburgh?
I did not.
You got some kinfolk at coaching out there or something?
In fact, I'm very upset with Pat Narduzzi right now.
Rock, mainly because, like I said, I want to see it. I want to see it for the SEC. I want to see it for Florida.
Hey, Hack, we played Florida down there that year. They won that national title. And they beat the shit out of us. And every quarterback Florida had threw a touchdown before I did. And I come to the sideline, and one of my goofy ass offensive linemen said something to that student section. They feel like, it's like they're right on top of you, like they're in this damn Zoom meeting. Then some bitches started jingling their keys, talking about Stoerner sucks. Stoerner's, it hurt my feelings, man. Yeah. I turned around and said, shit, it ain't bad enough. Y'all are beating the shit out of us. Come on, man. Florida at night ain't no joke now. Yep. Come on.
Yep. Yeah, I'm Florida as well. I think they win and cover. Dagan.
Florida. But I think it's close. I think Levis keeps Kentucky in this game until I think it could be similar to last weekend's game against Utah. I think it could be similar.
USC at Stanford.
How about them Trojans, baby? USC all day.
Yeah, I got SC. Like I said, I think too much firepower. They're not going to skip a beat, not waste the possession.
I think this is close in the early second quarter, and then I think it's not close at all early third quarter. USC wins and covers. Dagan.
As a Notre Dame fan, it pains me to say this, but USC.
The game of the week, Alabama at Texas. Clint.
Alabama all day, every day, and twice on Sunday if they want to play it on Sunday. Alabama wins this ball game, but I'm looking forward to seeing where Texas is at in this rebuild in a big way.
I echo that. Got Alabama, but excited to watch how Texas responds to this opportunity.
Yeah, I've got Alabama by a score of 50-3 in this game. For those watching at home,
we're breaking out scores now. What's going on here?
For those watching at home, Georgia beat Oregon 49-3. Nick Saban wins this game 50-3. Dagan, who you got?
I don't even know how to follow that. Alabama.
Easy as that. Final game. Maybe you could say the game of the week, at least here on the Field of 12. Baylor at BYU. Huge implications from this one. Clint, what's your pick?
I want to apologize to my man John McClain, NFL Hall of Famer, good friend of mine. He's a Baylor Bear. and all the fine people that he's brought into my life that are Baylor Bears, former Baylor Bears. I got to go with BYU here, boys. I got to go with BYU. They got dinosaur bones underneath their stadium. You know that? Do you know that? They got dinosaur bones. I think that's what it is. I mean, I got to ride with BYU right here. I'm gonna gamble a little bit. BYU.
Yeah, I thought long and hard about this, Clint, and I really wanted to ride with BYU in Provo at night, but I think Baylor's got a lot to prove here. Like I said, they were in it last year and they control their own destiny. I think they understand how much this game means for them moving forward. So I'm going with the Baylor Bears.
I'm buying Aranda. That's all it is. He wins this game. Give me Baylor on the road. Massive win for that team. Dagan?
Clint, you've been giving me hell all night, but let's roll. I'm going with BYU. Baylor hasn't beat a ranked team on the road since 2015.
Oh.
It keeps going. It keeps going.
Yeah.
I'm going
stat
BYU.
drop.
Let's do it. Greg, take it back.
I mean, what a stat drop.
Take it back.
That's fitting to end the show on a stat drop from producer Dagan, who has been rocking it behind the scenes for us early in this season. We appreciate everybody watching this. Hack, Clint, it was a pleasure to be on air with you guys tonight. We will be back here again Saturday evening for reactions to everything that happens in week 2. Of course, you can listen to us as well on the Sirius XM app, and please subscribe to the Field of 12 YouTube channel as well. Gentlemen, it's great talking with you as always, and we will see everybody Saturday on the Field of 12 After Dark.